We live in absurd times. The Trump administration has been so openly fascistic that honestly, at this point, this can be considered subtle messaging. It goes from the comical nationalism of renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, to the ridiculous military deployment at the southern border, to the horrifying mass roundup of undocumented immigrants, even though they were implying that they would only go after criminals. Spoilers, they didn't. To the outrageous repurposing of Guantanamo Bay as a concentration camp, to the unfathomable challenging of Native Americans' birthright citizenship in court, to the predictable fact that all of their denials that they had nothing to do with Project 2025 and had no plans to implement it were, of course, total bullshit. And I'm just scratching the surface here. If I had to give you a full list of all the fascisms they've done in the last 2 weeks alone, we'd be here for hours. Meanwhile, Germany, which considers itself the world's foremost expert on fascism, you see, well, they're mostly silent because they have business interests in the US and a bunch of Tesla facilities in Germany. But yesterday, they discussed a motion in the Bundestag, the German parliament, on whether the AfD should be declared unconstitutional and dissolved because it's too extreme. To be clear, this motion had very little chance of passing. But just a reminder, this is a party with no neo-Nazis, that has regularly used dog whistles, that has multiple branches within the organization that were dissolved for being extremist, and that took part in a meeting last year that discussed, among a bunch of other fucked up shit, how they were gonna undermine the system once they're in power. Yeah, that party's possible dissolution was being discussed in Parliament yesterday, and they tabled the motion. They didn't even vote on it. It probably won't come up again until after the election in a few weeks. Let me say that again. The motion on whether the AfD is too dangerous to exist as a party and take part in elections will not be voted on until after the election. And meanwhile, the CDU is siding with the far right for the first time in modern German history to pass anti-immigrant laws. And in all of that, what's incredibly ironic is that the generation of people who are in charge now, who've been telling us to remember the lessons of history so that we don't repeat the same mistakes, are the very people repeating those mistakes. So follow for more, I guess, because we know where this train goes and there's more mistakes ahead.